Welcome to the Temple of Flame. On today, Fifth Block Lights, we take a look at this. And what this is Captain Mowatt's a kick in the nuts. Nuts with a kick. The best kick in the nuts you'll ever have. Well, assuming it's a kick in the nuts you can eat and that is tasty rather than a foot in the groin, yes, I would say this would be better, yes. Okay, so we got dry roasted cashews, habanero, cayenne and chipotle peppers, vinegar, sea salt, garlic, spices, and Maine seaweed. So some of those things are in the Cancel hot sauce. This one does not reference that, however. Unlike the beef jerky, which is called hot meat, and that'll be in a separate video, this one appears to be just a bit different. So this is Ziploc, and it's sealed on top of balls. Okay, let's see. All right, we're gonna sacrifice the Ziploc, I guess. You know, this is some rather intensely strong plastic. I will give props to them for that. They're not joking. Oh, these are huge too. Look at these. Look at how big these are. All right, we can't wait around anymore. This is looking too good. Let's get into it. These are big, beautiful nuts. Those belong in my mouth. Interesting. All the there are particles at the bottom of this bag, and they're intact and whole near the top, which is fascinating. How does that come about? I'm wondering. So I did, at one time, I was doing a lot of different nuts. I had Battle of the Hot Nuts playlist there if you're interested. And that was a lot of fun, but the one problem with trying to do a quote-unquote tournament that way is I was running out of the sort of grand champions, and you know, those videos just didn't draw particularly well, and they were kind of a pain to do. And that was around the time that I busted a bunch of teeth as well. So those went by the wayside. I really haven't done a lot of nuts since then. Outside of, I did the ass kicking cashews videos up for that if you're interested. And cashews are generally not, you know, they're softer. And we're just gonna eat the whole bag. This will be maybe me going for a burn if I can ever shut my face long enough and stop talking. But story time, so we'll see. Anywho, I've sacrificed. I say that sacrificed. I've broken a number of teeth behind peanuts. So I wasn't too interested in doing those again. But cashews are said to be a lot softer, so it's like, all right, I'll do those. These remind me a little bit of the ass kicking cashews. in that they have a nice, it's a very low level, but there's a nice little bit of heat to them. They're about the same as far as heat. These are definitely more where cashew forward, I guess. Where the cashew is tasted a lot more prominent. The other ones you get a very healthy sense of the flavoring system. These majority is cashews. There is a little bit of salt. I'm not picking up smoke from chipotle or the seaweed. The heat, I'm assuming, is from the habanero rather, and there is a sort of vague chile taste to them, which is probably the cayenne. Could be habanero. It's not, or maybe a combination actually is more likely. It's not super distinct. Kind of like I said, a vague chile flavor. Yeah. 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 I'm gonna give these a solid default 1, and the other ones, the ass kicking ones, I believe also utilized a habanero. So they were around the same heat, if I'm remembering those rightly. I enjoyed those a lot as well. I like these. These are good. And I think they're nice in that they're nicely cooked. They're not burned. You get a lot of cashew flavor. You know, and that's kind of where it comes down to, you know, if you prefer more seasoning and a little bit less cashew flavor, you can look at the ass kicking. And if you prefer more cashew flavor, a little bit less than the spice, could take a look at these. Yeah, these are good. But I am very prone to cashews. I've liked cashews quite a bit for a really long time. It's been, I think, one of my more favorite nuts. So I'm partial to them to begin with. I think they blend extremely well with peppers. I don't know that any one nut necessarily meshes with peppers, you know, more so than the other. I think it more comes down to what your preference for is, you know. Whether you're going to think peanuts work better than cashews, work better than almonds, work better than pecans, work better than pistachios, or, you know, whatever. And I've had a number of different nut varieties, nut series, before I finally pulled the plug on it. Those head-to-head battles, I really doubt I'm ever going to go back to, though. You know, at the time, so for instance, I bought every ass-kicking variant of peanuts they had. I think there was like 5 or 6 of them. And I thought, you know, I'm not going to do 5 or 6 videos, one for each flavor, because That'd be silly. I mean, what's the point? You're just going to get very repetitive doing that, right? Run out of things to say pretty quickly, and then you're just repeating videos that already exist. And I mean, that happens, I think, anyway, to an extent. It's just kind of a facet of this entire thing, is that you wind up covering ground you've already covered. But, or the Blazing Foods, they had those Carolina Reaper peanuts that were pretty good. To just do every single flavor in its own separate video just seemed to me to be too much. So that's kind of where that head-to-head battle thing started. So these are, I'll give, like I said, I'll give these a legit one. Where that would have fallen, you know, some of those things were a hard 3 pushing a 4 towards the end of that. So this would have definitely not been near the top as far as flavor or heat. Probably, I would say nicely in the middle. So I would say nicely in the middle for flavor. Probably towards the bottom for heat, if I'm being honest. But I do have a really nice all-around sort of good warmth to my mouth. These are super enjoyable. I wish they actually came in a little bit bigger bags, and also bags that were easier to open. But yeah, I got no real complaints with these. I think these are these were quite good, and these are something I would definitely consider getting again. They were a touch pricey, I think, but I mean that's just how cashews kind of run. So I wouldn't say it's far off from that per se. But yeah, they were a delight. I really don't understand why the spicy world hasn't kind of glommed on a little bit harder onto cashews, but I suppose peanuts are probably less expensive. Maybe that's why. But yeah, these were a treat. These were a delight, and we'll just leave it right there. Quite satisfying. So that was the Captain Mowatt's A Kick in the Nuts cashews. Now go forth in peace to serve the flame.